In Donna Celine's elegant mansion, a festive atmosphere was beginning to take shape. The elderly woman, owner of a renowned pharmaceutical company, was eagerly awaiting another birthday celebration. However, this year seemed different, with her children, Ricardo and Mariana, showing unusual enthusiasm in planning the celebration. Donna Celine, a woman with gray hair and eyes still full of vivacity, watched the preparations with a smile of gratitude. "Mom, what do you think of this cake?" "Try it, we have others too," said Mariana, offering a sample. "I never imagined that you would prepare something like this for me." "I'm so happy," exclaimed Donna Celine, her eyes shining with emotion. Ricardo, tall and with an elegant posture, approached his mother with a warm smile. "Mom, you deserve all this and much more. We want this day to be truly special," he said, wrapping her in a loving hug. Meanwhile, Mariana leafed through decoration magazines, examining every detail carefully. "Everything has to be perfect for our dear mother," he commented, pointing to a floral arrangement. "Look at these petunias, Mommy. Aren't they beautiful?" The house was filled with laughter and joy, while Donna Celine sat at the kitchen counter, savoring the cakes and barely containing her happiness and gratitude. However, when the lady stepped away for a moment to go to the bathroom, the siblings took the opportunity to share a secret. Ricardo whispered to Mariana, "Everything is going according to plan. She doesn't suspect a thing." Mariana nodded, hiding a sinister smile. "Great. Keep flattering her," he replied. Unaware of her children's dark intentions, Donna Celine returned, beaming, imagining the party of her dreams with music, delicious food, and impeccable decorations. Little did she know that the most special gift that awaited her was not exactly what she had expected. The sudden presence and affection of her children, who had always been more distant, spoiled and focused on spending her money, filled Donna Celine with hope. She believed that, perhaps because she was getting older, her children had finally realized the importance of valuing their days and wanted to please her. Poor thing, little did she know what was coming. During the preparations for the party, while she was still trying out cakes and sweets, Donna Celine received an unexpected call. Her expression changed instantly, from serene to worried. "Yes, I understand. I'll be there as soon as possible," she said into the phone, with a tone of urgency in her voice. After hanging up, she turned to her children and explained that she had to leave because of an urgent matter related to her company. "My lawyer just called me about a problem that we need to resolve immediately. It seems that there was a problem with a shipping company's shipment. I'm going there, my loves, but I'll be back later so we can continue," she informed them in a hurry. With quick goodbyes and promises to return soon, Donna Celine left the mansion, allowing her children to continue planning the celebration alone. As soon as the door closed behind her, Ricardo and Mariana exchanged knowing glances and, with smiles of satisfaction, silently celebrated the success of the plan. "This will be our moment," they thought, as their mother's presence moved away, unaware of her own children's hidden intentions. "Mariana, no one will ever suspect what we're up to. How come we didn't think of this before?" Ricardo said, with a cruel smile that reflected his confidence. Mariana, also smiling maliciously, agreed. "Yes, no one will suspect anything. I've already bought the poison we're going to put in the cake. As soon as she eats a piece, we'll get rid of that old woman, and our inheritance will come sooner than we imagined." The siblings discussed the details with impressive coldness, as if they weren't talking about their own mother. Mariana had obtained a potent, undetectable poison that acted quickly and perfectly simulated a natural heart attack. "This will look like she had a heart attack. After all, she's already at the end of her life," she commented, while carefully examining a small bottle she had brought with her. Ricardo laughed, as if the situation were a joke, feeling in complete control. They saw themselves as the masters of the situation, anticipating how easy it would be to get their hands on Dona Celine's fortune. All we have to do is make a scene at the wake, cry a little, and soon we'll be swimming in money, Ricardo said, his eyes shining with an almost palpable greed. Mariana nodded, a satisfied smile on her face. Finally, we'll have everything we've ever wanted, without having to wait for her to die naturally. We'll be free to live the life we deserve. The plan was clear to both of them, and the false enthusiasm for the birthday party preparations was just part of a grand show. They were certain that no one would ever discover their intentions. And so, the day Dona Celine had been waiting for finally arrived. Tension hung in the air, hidden under the facade of an intimate birthday celebration, while the ill-intentioned children waited for the moment to execute their dark plan. An extremely astute elderly woman, the owner of a pharmaceutical company that she had built from scratch after the death of her husband, woke up that day radiant. She had raised her 2 children alone and, over the years, had transformed the small company into a respected empire. Now, her children, who were rarely home due to their travels and extravagant habits, had finally organized an intimate celebration, just the 3 of them. It was exactly the kind of moment she had always wanted, an opportunity to enjoy the company of the children she loved so much but rarely saw. What the elderly woman did not know was that her children, Mariana and Ricardo, could hardly hide the sinister anticipation they felt. Mariana, the eldest daughter, laughed diabolically in her mind, pleased with the cruel plan she had devised. She was the true mastermind of the scheme, while Ricardo, although seen as her right-hand woman, had his own dubious character, being as malicious as his sister. When the elderly woman descended the stairs from the 2nd floor, she found the table beautifully decorated. In the center, surrounded by exquisite sweets and sophisticated snacks such as caviar and black truffles, was the cake, carefully prepared by the 2. With a warm smile, the businesswoman thanked them for the gesture of affection. "My loves, how happy I am to be here with my 2 wonderful children," she said, her eyes shining with an emotion that her children could not fully decipher. It was a seemingly perfect day. They ate, drank, and talked, as if they were truly a happy and united family. Behind every smile and affectionate word, the siblings anxiously awaited the moment when their plan would come to fruition, believing that they were about to secure the future they so desired. After the birthday greetings, the brothers watched their mother's every move with intense, almost feverish attention. When she cut a generous slice of cake, they both shouted, "Happy birthday, Mom." Smiling, the elderly woman declared that this special moment deserved an exceptional wine, a rare addition from a winery that had been destroyed before World War I, whose value was exorbitant. Knowing her children's refined taste, she served the wine with an elegance that masked any suspicion. "A toast to our family," she said, filling their glasses with the precious liquid. The old woman then took her slice of cake and took a big bite, savoring each bite with visible pleasure. She commented on how divine the cake was and, to the delight of her children, continued to eat another slice. Ricardo and Mariana watched, barely breathing, as their mother gorged herself on the cake that, in their minds, was poisoned. With each bite, their hearts raced, anxiously awaiting the moment when the poison would begin to take effect. They toasted with the expensive wine, exchanging knowing glances, satisfied with what they believed to be the perfect execution of their plan. However, fate, or perhaps Dona Celine herself, had other plans. To the brothers' shock, the minutes passed and nothing happened. Their mother continued eating, laughing, and enjoying their company, without showing any sign of discomfort. After 20 minutes, when they should have already seen some effect, Mariana whispered nervously in Ricardo's ear, "She should have fallen dead by now." It was then that the lady broke the silence, looking directly at her children, who now had expressions of pure disappointment. "What is it, my dears? Why are you making such long faces? Aren't you happy that I haven't died yet?" Standing up, the old woman revealed what was really happening. "Do you really think I wouldn't know about your plan? How dare you? I changed the cake during the night for one that didn't have poison in it," she said firmly, an expression of disgust taking over her face. Ricardo and Mariana froze, their faces pale with fear and surprise. "But how? We were so careful," Mariana murmured, trying to process the situation. Dona Celine, now with a tone of voice that the two had never heard before, replied, "You underestimated the intelligence of the mother you have." But the final blow came soon after and made the two brothers start to tremble in terror. "Thank goodness I'm not stupid and put poison in your wine." The two dropped their glasses on the floor, in absolute panic. "You should have killed me before," exclaimed the old woman, her voice full of irony and triumph. The brothers, in an act of utter desperation, tried to induce vomiting in the hope of saving their lives. However, the lady interrupted them coldly. "It's no use. I chose a specific poison, which becomes even more deadly if you try to vomit. What a pity that only I have the antidote." Immediately, Ricardo and Mariana stopped, now overcome by panic. Their expressions of desperation were evident as they begged for mercy, tears streaming down their faces. "Mother, please forgive us. It was a terrible mistake. We can explain. Please give us the antidote," they pleaded, their voices choked with fear and regret. Dona Celine, maintaining her composure and control of the situation, responded with a tone of icy disapproval. "You are truly despicable. How could I raise two children capable of trying to kill their own mother without any mercy?" The only chance left to them, according to her, was to record a full confession of their nefarious plans. "Only after that will I consider giving the antidote," she said, as she took out her cell phone and turned on the camera. "Sit on the couch and start recording," she ordered with an authority that brooked no dispute. The two, still hesitant, realized that they were about to dig their own graves by confessing their crimes. But faced with the relentless reality, they realized they had no other option. "You have exactly 20 minutes before the poison takes effect," Dona Celine concluded, her voice echoing through the room with a serenity that only increased the terror of her children. Now faced with the gravity of their actions and the imminence of death, they understood the depth of the mistake they had made. Trembling and crying, Ricardo and Mariana began to confess, each revealing in sordid detail the diabolical plan they had devised. The room, which had previously seemed like the scene of a family celebration, had transformed into a maternal court of justice, where each word spoken before the camera was a sentence of self-imposed guilt. Dona Celine watched in silence, watching her children, whom she had raised with so much love, expose their corrupt souls in a desperate attempt to save their lives. Ricardo, with a trembling voice and tears streaming down his face, believing that his end was near, began to confess, "Yes, we planned to poison our mother to get the inheritance faster. I'm so sorry." His expression reflected the despair of someone who saw his life crumbling before his eyes. Mariana, equally shaken and with her voice choked with tears, continued, sobbing between words, "We were obsessed with the idea of getting rich quickly. But it was because she never let us spend as we wanted. We always had to do something in return, like work." She stopped, choked with tears and the growing fear of imminent death. "I wanted you to learn to value hard work, my children," the lady replied, her voice firm and without compassion. "Nothing comes for free in this life." With each confession, the siblings looked at her in despair, begging for mercy. "Mom, please, I'm feeling sick. Give me the antidote," Ricardo begged, his voice wavering and full of terror. However, Donna Celine remained impassive, denying them any sign of compassion. "You need to understand the gravity of what you did," she said, her expression stern and implacable. After the recording ended, she calmly picked up the phone and called her lawyer, while her children, desperate and in tears, watched in terror. When the lawyer answered, she spoke with a coldness they had never seen before. "Edward, did you receive the confession I sent you? Great. Now I want you to remove these two scoundrels from my will immediately," she ordered, with restrained but evident anger. Ricardo and Mariana, upon hearing the conversation, were completely shocked and overcome by panic. Time was running out, and the shadow of death seemed more real with each passing second. As they begged for their lives, Donna Celine, without showing any mercy, picked up her bag and began to walk away, heading towards the door. "Mom, are you going to let us die?" They both shouted in absolute despair, but she continued to walk, indifferent to the screams and agony of her children. "Where's the antidote?" cried the brothers, terror evident on their faces, urgency taking over their voices. But, turning to face them one last time, the old woman revealed the truth with a look that mixed disappointment and sadness. "There is no antidote. I would never put poison in my own children's drinks. I knew about your plan from the beginning." Donna Celine's words fell like a hammer, and suddenly the brothers stopped coughing, as if they had been choked by the revelation. They stood paralyzed, stunned, unable to believe that their mother had deceived them, using their own plot against them. The reality of their actions and the consequences of their acts crashed down on them. Now, outside the will, they faced a hard but necessary lesson. They had planned the worst against their own mother, and now they were paying the price for their betrayal. But how had the old woman discovered her children's diabolical plan if they were being so careful? The answer takes us back to a few days earlier, when the brothers, in a moment of false security, were detailing their deadly scheme. Do you remember that day when they were tasting the cakes and Donna Celine had to go out to resolve some issue related to the medicine deliveries? Well, while Ricardo and Mariana were planning their macabre steps in the kitchen, fate intervened in an unexpected way. Donna Celine, upon leaving, realized that she had forgotten her favorite sharp on the sofa in the living room. Determined not to leave it behind, she quietly returned to the house. When she came back in, she found the two so immersed in their Machiavellian plans that they didn't even notice her presence. They didn't hear her approach, and unintentionally revealed all the details of the conspiracy while their mother listened, shocked and hurt, on the other side of the door. From that moment on, Donna Celine knew exactly what she needed to do. She changed the game, using her children's own plot to teach them a lesson they would never forget. The woman heard her children's voices. Ricardo's tone of voice talking about poison caught her attention and aroused her curiosity. Driven by a dark intuition, she approached silently, hiding behind the wall to listen better. What she heard left her completely petrified, feeling betrayed in an unimaginable way. Her own children, the ones she dedicated her life to, were plotting her death. "As soon as that old woman eats the poisoned cake, the inheritance will be ours," Ricardo said, with a cruel smile on his face. Mariana, as if completing the terrible plot, detailed the type of poison chosen, ensuring that the symptoms resembled a heart attack. Celine, shocked and deeply hurt, retreated silently, trying to digest the horror of what she had just heard. That night, lonely tears ran down her face as she lamented the greed and cruelty that had grown within her own children. However, Celine was not a woman who would be easily defeated. Determined to teach an unforgettable lesson to the two scoundrels she had created, she began to devise her own plan. In the early hours of the morning before the party, while everyone was asleep, she went into the kitchen and swapped the poisoned cake for another, completely safe one. But that was just the beginning. Determined to deliver the final blow, she planned to pretend that she had poisoned her children's drink, forcing them to make a desperate confession. And so it was done. At the party, after her children fell into the trap and confessed their crimes, Celine acted with precision. The lawyer, who had been previously warned, prepared the necessary documents in record time. In less than 24 hours, Ricardo and Mariana no longer had any legal relationship with the businesswoman. Everything they had planned, every Machiavellian detail, turned against them mercilessly. The siblings, now overcome by panic and disbelief, could not accept the truth that was unfolding before them. They had dug their own grave, and everything they had planned to destroy their mother ended up becoming the ruin of their own lives. With the confession in hand, Donna Celine had the power to destroy her children's lives by handing them over to the police, where they would inevitably be arrested for attempted murder. "Mother, please forgive us," they begged, no longer fearing death, but terrified by the idea of spending the rest of their lives behind bars. The look their mother gave them was filled with disgust and hatred, reflecting a coldness they had never seen in her. "You are lucky I didn't take this to the police. You are an embarrassment to me," she declared in a firm, cutting voice, before turning and leaving the room, leaving her children alone to confront the enormity of their actions. Her last words echoed in their minds like a final blow. "You are no longer my children." After this traumatic event, and with the lesson duly taught, Donna Celine decided it was time to make drastic changes to the structure of her family and its legacy. With the determination of a woman who had seen the true colors of her children, she began to restructure her life. Her first decision was to redirect the fortune that had previously been destined for Ricardo and Mariana. With a new perspective on what really mattered, she chose to donate this part of her inheritance to charities. She chose organizations that supported underprivileged children and funded medical research, areas she had always held dear. "It is time for my wealth to make a difference in the world in a way that I know is right," she told attorney Edward during a meeting about the allocation of her money. Word of Donna Celine's generosity quickly spread, and she was widely acclaimed by the community for her selfless gesture. The image of an elderly woman who, after facing the greed of her own children, chose to help those in need inspired many people. For Ricardo and Mariana, the consequences of their actions were severe and immediate. In addition to being removed from the will, they were expelled from the mansion, with no rights to anything, forced to face an uncertain future, marked by regret and loss. That mother, deeply wounded by the betrayal of her own children, could no longer bear the presence of those who had plotted her death right under her nose. "You have nothing to do with me anymore. Pack your things and get out of here now. You will never find comfort under my roof again," she declared, with not a trace of love left in her heart for them. The brothers, now stripped of their inheritance and the luxury they had grown accustomed to, were struck by the harsh, cold reality of the world. The shock of losing everything they had known left them on the brink of despair. No longer protected by wealth, they were forced to face hardships they had never imagined. The humiliation of being known as the sons who tried to kill their own mother out of pure greed followed them, making each step toward a new beginning more difficult and full of obstacles. Meanwhile, the elderly woman, now seen as a symbol of strength and generosity, went on with her life with dignity and purpose, finding the peace she so deserved. Her former children, if they could still be called that, never saw her again, and the regret for the despicable acts they committed became a bitter weight on their consciences. They spent their lives regretting the choices that led them to lose not only their fortune, but also their own mother. And if you liked this story, the next video that is appearing on your screen will certainly move you even more. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. A big kiss, and until the next exciting story.